Hello mate and welcome to the talkSPORT Darts YouTube channel. My name is Harry Durham and this is your weekly Premier League Darts review, which will be coming to you every single Friday until the end of May. I'm going to be joined by two-time major winner and former world number one Colin Lloyd. Coming up, we'll dig into all of the results from Glasgow, the booing, the whistling, Luke Littler coming out on top over his old mate and world number one, Luke Humphries. We'll also have a big name guest as well. Three-time Lakeside World Champion Glen Durrant will join us to look back on all of the action from Glasgow. Plus, we'll look ahead to night 3 over in Dublin as the Premier League Roadshow continues. Please remember, whilst you're here, to like and subscribe just down below to keep up to date with all of the content we have right here on the talkSPORT Darts YouTube channel. Two-time major winner Colin Lloyd. How the hell are we, sir? And may I say, happy Valentine's Day, beautiful.
Happy Valentine's Day, sexy. Listen, I'm good. I'm a little bit tired, but listen, I'm good. And listen, wasn't it a great night in Glasgow last night?
Unbelievable. But I want to kick off somewhere. I don't even want to start with the games. Technically I am starting with the games, but I don't want to talk of anything on the board at the moment. The crowd, I don't know what you thought last night, Lloydie. I thought it was an absolute disgrace up in Glasgow. And I know some of the best atmospheres that you'll ever get in sport, you get at the Alexandra Palace, you get at the Winter Gardens, you'll get down at Minehead, Butlins. The whistling and the booing of the players was pathetic. I know they sing songs when you go to the Worlds, if you go to the match play, if you go to the Grand Prix or the Premier League or whatever. That's fine. That's part of the culture. Opening game, Rob Cross versus Luke Littler, crowd booing Cross. Same situation last week. MVG took on Littler in Belfast, and Littler's almost telling the crowd to be quiet when MVG is trying to check out. Last night, the crowd whistling Gezi Price, and he cracked back. He gave a whistle with his two pinky fingers after hitting the max, mate. I mean, the whistling in the final as well, Littler and Humphries and Kirk Bevins intervenes. We know that referee Hugh Ware always cracks back at the crowd if there's booing or there's whistling at the same time, and he did quite an aggressive shout yesterday. Listen, Luke Littler spoke off the back of the final win, and this is what he made of the noisy crowd.
There was a few in particular that were doing it when Luke were throwing. Then when Kirk told him to be quiet, it got even worse, and then I missed doubles, Luke breaks at 5-4, and I'm just like, yeah, Kirk, you've made it worse for me there, and I'm 5-4 down. But no, I broke back and then hold my throw very strongly again.
It's interesting that you say that. Would you prefer the referees not say anything then if it's going to make the crowd worse?
If it's the same as what it was when Kirk said it, then yeah, just leave it. Obviously they've got to step in at some point and say something, but yeah, that was pretty bad, but I got the win.
Colin, just first and foremost, you would have played in some hostile environments all over Europe and in the UK. But was last night a step too far from the crowd?
Yes and no, really. I've been around more hostile than that, a lot noisier or whatever. It's certain people. When it does get a little bit of hush, that high pitched whistle from someone that was just at to the right of the players. I'm surprised that the security didn't jump on that a little bit quicker, really. And if you're a real genuine darts fan, you know, and I've known a few people over the years, they've pointed out, it's him. Get him out. He's ruining my night. You know, tickets aren't cheap to come and watch the darts. And I sometimes think to myself, why would you do that when you've come to be entertained? You've worked all week. You've worked hard for your wages. And you're paying your wages just to go there and be an idiot, basically. Just think to myself, do you not want to be entertained? Do you not want to see the spectacle of the possibility of a perfect game, a perfect 9-dart game? And these 8 titans of the game playing at their very best, entertaining you so you get value for your money. I don't get it sometimes. And where you touched on the referee there, Harry, I feel sorry for the referees because sometimes a player wants some sort of order, and the referee thinks to himself, he's got to think in that split second, he's got to think to himself, right, if I call for order now, is it going to get worse? Unfortunately for the players last night.
That's what Littler said after Kirk Bevins did intervene, which is the right thing to do. It just antagonised the crowd even more in Glasgow.
Yeah, it did. But this is what I'm saying, Harry. It's Littler didn't really seem too bothered, but it was upsetting Luke Humphries, and possibly as Luke went past, I'm not saying he did, but he might have just walked past the referee as you do sometimes, or it's been done over the years. Get a little bit of order, and when you ask for order, it's the last game of the evening. Everybody's had some light refreshment, and they think to themselves, well, the night's nearly over now, I'm just going to give it my all. And unfortunately, last night that happened. It's unfortunate in the game, but unfortunately with the world of darts, it happens, and you just have to move on to the next show.
But I was thinking of all the places that you can go to where sort of things are out of order. So whistling at the darts, I think, is poor. There's a clip on social media of someone heckling Peter Kay. I think it was at the O2 or it might have been in Manchester.
Yeah, I saw that.
Don't heckle a comedian at a comedy night. Don't talk in the cinema. Don't go on your phone in the cinema.
Yeah.
Just shut up. People will say I'm probably being pathetic, and you probably get the old person in the comments being like, oh, you're woke. It's like, I'm not. People singing at the darts and at the football is what it's all about. You don't want someone at a penalty with a laser being shone in their eye. No, there's a big difference between singing and a ringing whistle. Do you know what I mean? Listen, to those people that think it's all right, and to that person as well, how about in the next couple of months you take a flight to Augusta, you go all the way to Georgia for the Masters, when Scotty Scheffler's on a putt to win another Masters, you whistle, and let's see how you get on then. This ain't Happy Gilmore, fella. This ain't Happy Gilmore. Some people on social media say that the players should have walked off. And we mentioned prices at the tables, and I was trying to find some prices this morning. It might have gone up compared to last year. Front row seats of the tables, you're looking towards 60 quid. The rear, you're looking towards 33 quid. You could watch it on the box for that much. I'm pretty sure you could probably get a Now TV subscription, and this isn't an advert, by the way. You could probably get a Now TV subscription for that price. Or even better, you can watch along on the talkSPORT Darts YouTube channel. Cheers. And guess what? It's free. So, Cole, oh my God.
Mate, listen.
It's a wind-up.
The thing that you're saying there, Harry, just touching on it again, it's right what you say. Even if you've got the cheapest ticket, say 30 quid. 30 quid, it's not just £30 though. It's the price of getting there as well. The price of maybe having a burger and chips and a Coke or whatever before you get. There's another 10, 15 quid gone. The night's going to cost these people around the 100 quid mark, because then they've got to get home. If they have to get a taxi home, another 20 or 30 quid. And so it does make you wonder. You think to yourself, why do you do it? You'd never get away with it at snooker. They'd haul you out. They'd stop the match and out you go. But unfortunately, when you've got between 10 and 15,000 people in the crowd and there's one idiot making a spectacle of himself, firstly, you've got to find him. And then secondly, you've got the arduous task of trying to get him out amongst other people.
There's always a village idiot, isn't there? There's always someone that's got to make it all about themselves. You know what I mean? It's pathetic. It really is. Do you know what the funny thing is? When I was in Belfast last week, because I was hearing it at Winmore World Masters and some other locations as well at the start of 2025. I'm not sure if it was Den Bosch. But I asked Gezi last week. I said to him, are the noise cancelling headphones going to come back? Like, because I'm hearing more whistling in the crowd. He was like, yeah, I've not had any issues so far. But isn't that just amazing that 8 days ago I speak to him and then it happens in Glasgow? Do you think that we could see the return of noise cancelling headphones for Gerwen Price? If it carries on.
No, because I think it would be seen as bringing the game into disrepute, believe it or not, and Gezi could possibly end up getting a fine. I think if the players are getting upset by it and wound up by it, the only other thing to try is Mervyn King. Mervyn King used to get the ones that the spongy sort of ones that you can roll up so they insert in your ear better.
Like you'd wear on site.
That's it, yeah. So Merv used to use those because he used to get very aggravated by the crowd and by the noise and whatever. Listen, I'm not going to say that you've just got to get on with it because that sounds a little bit unprofessional of me. But unfortunately, Harry, you're going to go to these places. People want to have a good time. They feel that they've paid their money, and so they're justified to do that. But then they wonder why that if they do get found out, that security does go, sorry, you're going to have to leave because you're becoming not just disruptive to the players, you're becoming disruptive to the people that are around you. And they're proper hardened dart fans. They want to see and hear and enjoy their evening, and you're upsetting that. And so then they wonder why they're getting kicked out.
I'm making a prediction, by the way, that we will see or hear an air horn used. The remaining 15 nights, someone will sneak in an air horn, like a...
Yeah.
That's terrible impression.
Well, do you know what, Harry? I'm going to tell you something here as well. You don't actually hear as much as what you think you can hear. Because if you're watching it on TV, that is. Because there's obviously... me, when I used to do the spotting with Sky... there's obviously microphones strategically placed all around, and they can dim the noise from what you hear at home. So people at home, people watching this today, if you thought it was okay, you're not hearing it properly because the microphones get turned down. So you're not getting the full blast and the full volume of it, whereas the players are. So, I'm just saying to those people that are watching from home that thought, I didn't think it sounded too bad. Believe you me, it is. If you're in that arena, you can hear it.
Listen, let's go on to the nicey stuff, shall we? It's Valentine's Day. You don't want to start the weekend off ranting and moaning like I especially have.
You just have.
Yeah, I think back to the last 10 minutes and to say, do you know what? The listeners are probably watching this and thinking, what a couple of old farts, do you know what I mean? Like, literally, you two get a grip. It's a Friday morning. Listen, night 2, Glasgow. Sensational evening of darts. Luke Littler winning his first night of the Premier League Darts Roadshow. Do you know what? Paul Nicholson said that on comms last night. The Premier League Darts Roadshow, and I'm actually stealing it from him because I thought it was an unbelievable line. Beating world number 1 Luke Humphries in the final, deciding leg, those golden darts, baby. We knew that he was switching between 2 sets of darts. The golden ones weren't working for him, but tell you what, they came up trumps yesterday. Comeback trail against Rob Cross, being 5-1 down, 5 180s, averaged 104.59 in that game. It's getting to a point with Luke Littler now, Lloydie, where it's like we're kind of running out of things to say about him, to be honest with you. You can't say the old cliche stuff, how good is he? I can't believe he's only 18. All of that stuff is done. But listen, how much of a relief will he be feeling waking up this morning, winning night 2 off the back of Belfast and going out in his opener to Michael van Gerwen?
Oh, we'll be very relieved, I think. But I think we've noticed over this past 14, 15 months now with Luke Littler, he doesn't seem to get panicked. He doesn't panic. He doesn't get phased. He just goes, oh, well, he'll go off, then he'll come back. He could end up losing like he did last week. First game, comes back next week, wins it. Next week, he might go out first round again. Following week, he'll possibly win it again. It doesn't faze him about who he's playing, where he's playing, what he's playing like, because, like we say, he got away with it a little bit with Rob Cross. I don't say he got away with it. He was unfortunate to find himself 5-1 down, but the blistering attack he done on the treble 20 at 5-1 down was just sensational. Let's not forget that at 5-2 up, Rob Cross missed a dart at tops to actually win the match, 6-2. He come walking back to himself, well, I'll probably get a shot. No. 2 treble 20s and a ball, reeled in the big fish, and did he not show his enjoyment of doing that? And then for me, that was an absolute game changer because he started the next few legs, he went 180, 180, 180, 177. And a couple of crucial clutch finishes of a 68 and an 88. And that's just world-class darts. He averaged a lot higher those last 3 legs than what he did throughout that whole match. It was just unbelievable, and Rob Cross didn't know where to turn. But in saying that, he did still miss 2 match darts in the decided leg, Rob Cross, at his favourite double 18.
With you being a pro as well, like when something like that happens and you miss those match darts and you've gone from being 5-1 up, what is really like going through your head? Do you think back and you're just like, geez, was I a bit too comfortable going into this? Because you should be wrapping that up. You can't let someone else, especially someone like Luke Littler, in who's going to hurt you. And you're mentioning about Rob Cross there, letting Littler come back. And you can't do that. Situations like that where he thinks, do you know what, Littler won't hit this. It reminds me of our old mate Keith Deller. Bristow I know it was a well final, but Bristow thinking
he set it up.
He wasn't going to hit a 138, and he was like,
yeah,
that's fine. He won't knock out a 138. I'll get another visit. Where it wasn't a situation. It wasn't meant to be for Rob Cross in that situation. But where's your head at when that happens, though? When you miss those crucial darts?
Well, I don't think Rob can be too disappointed. It just so happens, Harry, basically, if you looked at the early stages of that match, double 18 was Rob's very, very, very best friend because he pinned it about 3 legs. But when it come down to the crunch and that crucial shot, and he had 2 darts at it, they weren't badly thrown darts. They just didn't go in. Listen, he's going to wake up this morning. Well, Rob's a funny one because Rob doesn't really dwell on much, and he'll just move on to the next one. Me, I'd be, if I'd have just hit that double 18, it's one of the biggest words in life, isn't it? Really, if he didn't hit it, and he gave Luke Littler an opportunity, and up Luke Littler stepped and said, "Thank you very much. If you don't want it, I'm going to have it." But Rob Cross, he'd have been a bit seething last night because he knew he was playing well. He knew he was playing well after the Pro Tour. He won the Pro Tour on Monday in Wigan, and so he knew he was playing well. And when he went 5-1 up, I'm not saying he did this for 1 minute, but he might have thought, right, the job's done. I'm 5-1 up, I'm cruising, I've got a couple of breaks. Well, I think he had 3 breaks at that point then. Yeah. Certainly definitely had 2 breaks. And it was a case of, right, well. And I don't think he would because Rob's not usually like that. He might have been looking at the next round game. But he missed double 18.
He was quality in that first day of the Pro Tour as well. I know he got absolutely slapped in the second day. But doesn't matter. He won the Dutch Masters as well. He's actually playing quality so far in 2025. No one can be Mr. Consistent in darts because you're just going to have off days here, there, and everywhere. Off days probably more than on days, really.
And one thing I will say, Harry, the one thing that Rob Cross said last night, funny enough, in his interview before the match, he actually turned around and said, didn't he? The only one he worries about is himself. In the fact that he's not scared or worried about any other opponents. All he worries about is himself. Which Rob Cross is going to turn up, the guy of brilliance or the inconsistent Rob. Last night I thought there was a brilliant Rob Cross, and he just got, when it come towards the end of that match, he just got outplayed by the better player.
Is it a comfort thing as well? When you're 5-1 up and you just put that handbrake on, you almost go into like an autopilot or like a cruise control sort of situation.
Yeah, that's when you're 5-1 up and it's a race to 6. You can't help but think, Harry. You can't help but think, I'm over the line here. That's okay. And subconsciously, you're thinking that, even though you're going up and you're still trying to hit everything, but you've let it slip into the back of your mind. You can't let it slip into your back of your mind. Just get to the 6 and go, yep, job's done. Walk off, get ready for the next match.
The other finalists, Luke Humphries, quality versus Chris Dobie. Tops versus Van Gerwen. Tops versus Gezi Price, I should say, sorry. Yeah. Came back in both of his quarter-final and semi-final. Quality comeback. 2-ton plus averages as well for Cool Hand. Cut his finger, which was obviously spotted in his walk-on to face Luke Littler. And the other thing that I noticed as well, forget about the plasters, forget about the finger injuries, didn't have his signature gel in his hair. And do
you know, it's funny you say that, Harry. I noticed that myself.
I think of stuff like that. I think of that. When something ain't right, mate. When something ain't right. But he was still quality at the same time. He was still absolutely sensational.
I'm showing me age here. I thought, where's the Brill cream?
Yeah. When he came, when it was his walk-on and it wasn't the slick, spiky... I wouldn't even say it's spiky really with Humphries. It's more sort of to the side, but it's well in place. Lovely do that he's got going on. Very smart man.
It looked very fluffy last night. Fluffy, that's the word. It looked fluffy.
Yeah. Looked like he'd gone for a little spa day. Maybe because he didn't play day 2 at the Pro Tour because I think he wanted to celebrate his 30th birthday, which was this week. Yeah. So he probably just had a little spa day with the missus. But listen, quality display once again. And you know what? Unfortunate to not get over the line and make it 2 wins from 2. But he must be waking up this morning and being like, do you know what? Well in Belfast, completed. Yeah. Still reached the final in night 2 as well.
Yeah. Wakes up this morning, still top of the group.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I mean. And he knows his game's going well because he didn't have a great Monday at the Pro Tour, but his first game last night was obviously the final of last week against Chris Dobey. Chris Dobey, 5 180s, playing lovely, gets the break to go 4-2 up, and you think to yourself, well, this could be it now, 4-2 up, but then all of a sudden, I mean, Dobe's done the same. He's still cracked in another 3 180s the next few legs. But Humphries went 180, 180, 180, 81 checkout, and that sort of play and the way he was backing up the 180 with a ton or a 140, that was putting Chris under a lot more pressure. And I think he finished the last 3 legs in something like 11, 12 and 14, something like that, or 11, 14 and 12. He could have had back-to-back 11s. Well, when you were doing that, someone's got to have 9 darters.
Yeah.
And... they don't come along too often.
Well, especially a 9-darter in the Premier League this year. I read in the paper the other day, 18... is it carat or claret? Claret. 18 carat gold and £30,000 bonus on the top of that as well. And Humphries is saying, mate, even though he's not as prolific on that 180 compared to a Luke Littler as such. But mate, imagine winning that. The 30 grand bonus.
Well,
those golden darts.
I look at it like this, Harry. I think to myself, do you want a 9 carat gold 9 dart pin with 30 grand and win in 1 leg? Or do you want £500,000 and win in the Premier League? Or 300 grand, whatever it is, and win in the Premier League? Because I know which one I'd pick.
Do you have to really pick between the two, or can't you just take both?
Well, this is the thing. It's very, very interesting you say that because the likes of Humphries and Littler, Dobey, all of them that are competing are more than capable of doing that. So they could be really greedy, like you say, have 330 grand and a 9 dart pin. A gold 9 dart pin.
What were the bonuses 20 years ago compared to what they are now? Because
what bonuses? What bonuses?
What was it? Half a shandy at the bar?
Well, I tell you what. I remember at one time, like the Pro Tour events that we're talking about. They're the weekly things that the guys get to compete about. I mean, I think they're 15 grand to the winner now each day. There used to be a pot where they added £400 every one. And the highest pot that it ever got up to was £12,800 for a 9 darter, and someone hit it. And so they got £12,800, and then the following day, I think it was Phil Taylor and Dave Askew both hit one, and they got to split £400 because it started again, so they got £200 each. So on the Saturday event, a player hit it and got 12,800. That was played down to a winner. The following day, it started off again with £400, £200 each. Do you want to know who the player was who hit the 12,800?
Go on.
Woo woo!
It had to be Sharky, didn't it? It had to be Jaws.
But listen, there's been some great ones. Phil Taylor hitting the first one in the PDC on TV, got 100 grand at the Stan James World Match Play back in 2001, 2002, I think it was.
Stan James is a word or a name that I've not heard since about 2007.
Oh well, there you go. Yeah, but so there was always some sort of prize fund there, but they get hit with such regularity now that it just gets to a point. Where do you draw the line? I'd like to see something. I mean, they get a 9-dart pin and whatever. They get handed that, but then you'd have to have such a colossal amount of money, Harry. You know that you can't keep rewarding financially 9-dart legs. It's great. I think you should always have one in the majors. You've got to have them in the majors, I think, or the big TV events, but not in the everyday Pro Tour or Euro Tour events.
Or especially what they did in the Worlds as well, where they would donate money to prostate cancer. It's such a lovely touch as well at the same time. Listen, Cole, should we get our guest on for the week?
Yeah, I mean, come on, why not?
It's a man that, when I was thinking of my darts nickname, so I've told you before that I go as Dirty Harry Durham, play off the Clint Eastwood film, and I know someone's already got that as well. But my nickname when I was in school was Duzzer, because my name is Harry Durham. And do you know what? I'm never going to take it off this man, even if I do make it to Ali Pally one day. It's 3-time Lakeside World Champion Glen Duzzer Durrant. Glen Durrant, hello sir, and welcome to talkBULL Night 2 of the Premier League. What an unbelievable night it was. Listen, me and Colin have already had our say on the crowd, the whistling, the booing. What did you make of it at Duzzer Manor last night?
Yeah, as a dart player, you can accept the silence, you can accept the noise, but if there's one thing that really grinds a dart player, it is whistling. And it's almost like when you're about to pull back the dart, that you're awaiting the whistle, and you can see players are losing their heads, and it's a shame because it's spoilt a fantastic night.
What can they do about that, though? Like, I know the referee can intervene. Kirk Bevins and Hugh Ware did tell the crowd to shut up or be silent. Probably not as brutal as that. But what would you like to see from dart referees? Is it a case of even security intervening?
Yeah, I'm not blaming Kirk, but even when Kirk sort of said, "Come on, be quiet," it's as if it wound them up even more, and they got worse after that. So I don't think it's actually anything to do with that. I just think it's part of the pantomime that is the Premier League. You've got 10,000 people there. They're having a fantastic night, and you're going to get the minority that's going to spoil it. There's an incredible amount of security that's at a Premier League event, but trying to manage that at the end of the night, it's very, very difficult. And just you're hoping sometimes that the people around the guys who are whistling are going to make a difference. But it's a real shame. But I know the PDC are doing everything they can to try and alleviate that. But there's no blame to Kirk. I mean, if he shouts out "no whistling," then Luke Littler says it got worse when the whistling started. If he doesn't say anything, he's criticised on social media for not handling it. So it's a tough situation.
You mentioned Luke Littler.
I was saying, Glenn.
Go on,
Sorry, Harry. I was saying, Glenn, that unfortunately for the referees, me and you have both been players. Unfortunately for the referees, they're caught in a catch-22 situation, aren't they? There's the likes of me and you would possibly just get on with it, try and knuckle down, try and focus a bit more, but you are going to get an odd player come walking past, grab a bit of order for me, come on. And so the referee is caught in a catch-22 because one's not saying nothing, one player, but the other player's saying, come on, get some order.
Yeah, and if you watch it, Luke Humphries, I think, almost looks, well, are you going to say something, Kirk? And then you can see the anger in Kirk. We've seen it with Hugh Ware recently. So it's an issue, and it's a shame we're talking about this rather than the fantastic darts that there's been over the past 2 weeks.
Listen, Littler was sensational last night. Was that testament to his character on the hockey coming back from Rob Crossy? It looked like he could have been down and out in that opening game, but managed to get against Crossy. He was unbelievable yet again.
Yeah, he's a genius. He's special. You know, right behind me, there's so much memorabilia of Phil Taylor that I have because I'm his super fan. That was taken over by Michael van Gerwen, who was creating numbers that we'd never seen in darts. And now we've got this 18-year-old lad who's really special. I'm a huge fan. I mean, I'm such a fan last week at Belfast. And that's going on my wall, you know what I mean? I mean, that's the type of fanboy I've become as well. He takes it in his stride. He doesn't look at you in the eyes. He's very, you know, he's got a great manner about him. I like his dad. I speak to him quite a lot. They had this master plan in 2011 and boys at work. He's got something that you can't teach. He's got something that you can't really coach. I think it comes within.
Earlier this week, Barry Hearn was on talkSPORT, and he said exclusively, we knew this before Bahrain even kicked off, that 600 schools in Bahrain have now added darts to the school curriculum. And we're seeing Luke Littler, we're seeing these young lads, Jack Johnson, I think down in Kent, 12, 13-year-old, he's putting up phenomenal numbers. I think he won Winmore Junior Masters a couple of weeks ago, and the other lad from Devon or Dorset as well. This is a question to both of you because I'm so passionate about this. We're seeing the rise of Luke Littler. He's already world champion at 18. You're going to have little boys, little girls saying, Mum, Dad, you know, maybe I can't be a footballer, but maybe I could be a darts player. Do you know what I mean? Are you seeing now that the school curriculum and in everywhere in the UK, youth clubs need to get right behind darts and start bringing through the next generation, because this is the real beginning of the second golden period of darts, probably, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. One of the jobs I've got to do with Target is to go around the academies with Lorraine Winstanley. And my eyes were open before Luke Littler when I went to the Blackburn Academy. I met a guy called Keith Brunt. Hopefully Colin's come across Keith because he's a volunteer. All the players were dressed in dart attire. You know, I went for an hour, ended up staying 4 hours. And there's more Luke Littlers to come. There's a young lad in Belgium as well who's doing phenomenal things. So it's not just the UK. This is a global sport that we've got now. The players are getting younger. It feels more and more like it's a young players' game right now. You know, when you're throwing a dart without worrying about a mortgage, without worrying about what to pay, you know, the game can be a lot easier right now. And the amount of young players going into academies, because the pathway that I had was a workman's club, you know, then onto county darts, onto representing your country, onto going to Lakeside. There's so many opportunities now with the JDC and with the academies and youth clubs, etc., that I think in the next couple of years there'll just be so many players coming through, and it's called the Luke Littler effect, and it's exactly what it is. They're seeing this young player who they can relate to, and they want to be Luke.
Cole, in 20 years' time, off the back of us having this conversation, Luke Littler is what, 38 years of age. What if I'm not saying get in a time machine right now, but how big is the boom gonna be for the next 2 decades?
Do you know, honestly, Harry, I really don't know. I can't answer it. I don't think anyone can answer that question. We've had little lulls in the game. We have some big pick-me-ups. We have some lulls. We have pick-me-ups. We had, like Glenn just now said, you know, you had the Phil Taylor effect. After the Phil Taylor effect, we had the Michael van Gerwen effect. Now we've got the Luke Humphries, Luke Littler effect. And like Glenn said, touching on the youngsters, I was fortunate enough to go to the JDC World Championships in Gibraltar and their World Cup and everything. And I saw talent from all over the world. There's lots of Luke Littlers out there. Now, I'm not going to say they're going to do what Luke has done because, as Glenn said, he's special. He's a special player. But there are a lot of youngsters out there that are very, very, very good. And they are going to create opportunities for themselves. And when they get those opportunities, I think they're going to take them. And that will push the game even further forward. So, where does it all end? I really don't know. Let's just hope it carries on for a very long time, because darts runs in my veins and it certainly runs in Glen's veins. And we just love the fact now that we've had our time. We still do exhibitions and shows and things like that, and Glenn does a bit of coaching. But we still just are passionate about the sport of darts. And long may it continue, because we love seeing these young, fresh players coming through, and the professionalism of them is just absolutely fantastic. And it's only great for darts.
Glenn, you mentioned that you're also a fanboy of Michael van Gerwen. Walk in the park yesterday against Stephen Bunting with a 6-1 quarter-final win. Wasn't on the Pro Tour this week. Still looking solid. Quality checkout rate of 66.67 against the Bullet. He beat Littler in Belfast. We know his game is quality. Couldn't get anything done yesterday. Is Luke, I know he got that world final win against him, is Luke really living rent-free inside of Michael's head now?
No, I'm seeing real positives from Michael van Gerwen, if truth be told. I thought week 1, Michael van Gerwen was the best player of the 8. It surprised me, because I thought after that world final, I admire Michael van Gerwen so much because of the word longevity. How does he keep himself motivated? He's won everything. He's a rich man. Yet he sees this new challenge, and I just wouldn't write him off just yet. He seems to have the effect for Luke Littler as well, that when he plays Michael, he's up for it. That's what the Premier League can do. When you're playing an elite player in front of huge crowds, if you can't get up for that, you never will. But I'm not writing Michael van Gerwen just off. I thought he was sublime last week. I thought he was incredible against Stephen Bunting in that quarter-final. 109 average, wonderful on his doubles. I think we talk about the next 20 years of Luke Littler. I'm not so sure we'll see Luke Littler for 20 years. And that's why I admire Michael van Gerwen so much, because he's been around forever. And this is his latest challenge, and I've got a feeling he's up for it.
Is this the modern day big rivalry now? Then you look at Barney and Taylor in the 2000s, but would you say now? I want to put Luke Humphries in the frame as well, because they're the 3 main figureheads really at the table at the moment. But is it more swaying towards Littler versus MVG?
I still say it's Luke v Luke. It depends. I would love to see Michael working with Vincent van der Voort. I would love to see him training. I would love to see him practicing and not just reliant on match practice, because the calendar is so busy at the moment. So it was interesting the fact that Michael didn't play the Pro Tours this week. Did he go back and rest? Did he try things on the practice board? But for me, the outstanding 2 players right now, if I had to pick 2, is the Luke versus Luke with Michael on the periphery.
It's funny you should mention Vincent van der Voort, Glenn, because the Modus Super Series launch with Pluto TV earlier this week, he told me that MVG needs to do more, and he wanted it too much in the World Finals. And this is a question that goes out to both of you. Can being too focused and wanting it too much in a game or in a final be a massive disadvantage to you on the hockey? Yeah,
Colin mentions I'm doing a lot of coaching. That dartboard behind me there, and one thing I do work with players is if you throw when you're taut, when you're tight, when you've got anxiety, hold your breath for 10 seconds and try and throw a dart, and then throw one when you. I call it I'm old enough to remember Bruce Grobbelaar going in goal with the wobbly legs and everything. If you can throw a dart when you're super relaxed. So in answer to your question, you can be too up for it, because managing nerves, managing that adrenaline that's running through your body is very difficult to do. That's why you see so many players miss a 9-darter, then end up losing a leg, because that adrenaline that is pumping through you. God knows when Colin Lloyd hits the 170 to win the match play, if you could bottle that 10 seconds that Lloydie had after that, and very similar to to moments we've had, it's managing that, and sometimes you want it too much. So therefore, you've just got to find that zone. But for me, relaxation is key.
You won the Premier League back in 2020. What really is the secret remedy to going all the way and lifting it?
I think humility. I never talk about it. Mine's a little bit different, Harry, in a sense that I played in 6 arenas, which was tremendous. Only lost 1 in Dublin to Nathan Aspinall, I did have a draw against Fallon Sherrick in Nottingham, but I played beautifully. Beat Gerwen Price with 110 average. I played really nice then. My story's a little bit different because just as I was at the peak of my powers, April 2020, we went into COVID. And I genuinely believe I worked harder than anyone throughout COVID. I remember winning the tournament with Michael Smith, Nathan Aspinall, Dobie, all in players. And then I had these Premier League weeks came back around about the September, October, and they were daily, nightly, and somehow topped the group. Somehow, I mean, Lloyd, you'll know how I won that finals night with a 86 average and a 92 average. Someone was looking down at me. And then I think the whole effect of all that, the pressure, the playing every night, 2 weeks after winning the Premier League, I could barely hit a big 20. I mean, it was just, thankfully, I just got over the line in the Premier League, but the pressures that you have on that, it does say that the Premier League can make or break players. Well, despite the fact I won it, I think it broke me in the end.
Are you still happy with the decision that you made to step away from the hockey?
It was the best feeling ever. 2022 or 21 was awful. I won 3 games all year, 2 of them in one day. So I won 1 game in 11 months. It was horrific. I was averaging as low as 69 in one game, predominantly in the 70s. And when I came over in 2019, I had a yearly average of 98. So the decline I could accept. How quickly it happened is still a bitter pill to swallow.
The 3 back-to-back World Championships at Lakeside as well. How do you feel just looking back at them, if it's on DVD or if it's on YouTube?
Yeah, I'm trying to see if the trophy's there. Can you see it there in the background? It's all about humility, see, Harry. I love my Lakeside. I think I was at my happiest 2017, 18, 19 winning it. It's the most unique venue you're playing, very intimate. You can touch the head of the first person in the crowd, different crowd, nothing like what we're seeing now. So I'm very proud of my BDO days, to win 3 Lakesides. But there was always that, you've just won the pub darts, you've just won this. It was difficult to accept that it wasn't credited, and it was only the fact I went over to the PDC and had 2 years of really good darts that I think I got the credit I deserve for that. But they were happy days.
Someone that you spent a lot of time with in the BDO as well, Stephen Bunting, 0 wins so far in the Premier League. Have you been quite underwhelmed by his performances, the opening 2 nights in the Premier League so far this season?
Yeah, his lowest average so far has been 94. So he's not playing bad, but it's the elite dart. It's 8 players. I did make a statement before a dart was through that he throws with the lightest dart. And Colin will tell you that when you're playing these big arenas, your darts don't fly like it does behind me right now in a small bedroom, dart room, etc., whatever you want to call it. So you'll even see players just maybe go a couple of grams heavier because the airflow in there, just you can see thinking, what's happened to me dart? It's almost like going opposite to what you would normally see. And I said that could be a factor. But like I said, he's up against the best players. And for poor Stephen, next week he's got Luke Humphries first round. The week after he's got Luke Littler. So if he did go into 4 weeks and he hasn't got a point, that's when I started panicking. I was getting walloped. The only good news with the bad year I had, it was all done and dusted within a fortnight. That might be on the mind of Stephen when you're searching for that first win. Whereas Nathan's got a slightly easier couple of weeks coming up. So, yeah, an interesting couple of weeks of Bunting. He's made for the Premier League, that walk-on, his social media impact that he's had now, but he'd be desperate to get that first win.
Do you think, Glenn, me looking at Stephen the past couple of weeks, the latter part of last year, and then the World Championships, then Bahrain and whatever, and all these World Series events and whatever, he was looking really, really good. Do you think that he's now got into the Premier League and he's trying so hard to justify his place there? Whereas I don't think he needs to justify it. I think he deserved to be there. but he just seems like he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders at the minute when he's trying to play.
Yeah, he looked very nervous in Belfast was the one thing that I picked up from him. But Stephen Bunting was the first in the venue, last in the venue in the old BDO days. His sole priority was to make people laugh. And he's a different player now. He's got good management. He's good, excellent sponsorship. He's a family man now. And everything is perfect for him. He wasn't a question about Premier League. Everybody expected him to be in, wanted him in. But listen, he's walked into Michael van Gerwen averaging 110. There's not many players who can beat that. But the fact he's got Humphries next to it, the fact he's got Littler, it could be a question that we're asking Colin and myself in 4 weeks' time if he's still on 0 points. Because, you can begin to panic all of a sudden that dream of playing in the Premier League. The reality is turning out to be a bit of a nightmare. So, yeah, just watch this space, but I'm not panicking just yet.
Right, 4 weeks' time, let's book in Glen Durrant with me and Cole, and we'll see what's going on there. Quick one, Glenn, I want to know your opinion on this. Excuse me. And Cole, you as well. Glenn, you've done a lot of work with the Motor Super Series, and the seniors and the influencers that they're getting involved of one Mr. Angry Ginge, if the name rings a bell. I think did you play with Ginge or Charlie Murphy?
I'm going down with the cool kids, me. I know them all. Yeah. But the truth, I didn't have a clue who any of them was. Yeah, but I played in the Motor Super
G-Dozer
Series.
in the house.
In it. But yeah, I didn't have a clue who any of them was. There was one guy who, the crowd were just mad about that name's one. But yeah, I partnered Charlie Murphy, a guy who walks around with a suitcase of darts. Literally.
Yeah, he does.
I think that day I played with him, he used 20 sets. I was driving home from Portsmouth with the sole intention, expecting to lose first round. But me and Charlie somehow got to the final. So I got to know each of the influencers before I lost to Caden Walker, a 12-year-old player from Dorset. Yep. So, yeah, a new low for me.
Well, that's what I'm thinking about, because we're seeing influencers and YouTubers come into the boxing scene, and we've seen players rise up through Modus. Luke Little had a good stint in Modus as well. Listen, am I being absolutely crazy when I say this? Say someone like Angry Ginge is putting up an insane, I'm not saying he's going to hit a ton average, but if he's getting close to 80s and then he does go to Q school, could we actually see these YouTubers rising up through the ranks?
Yeah, they can throw darts, but there's throwing darts and then going to Q school and qualifying. So I don't see it in the next decade. But yeah, look what's happened to, what did Barry Hearn once say? I can smell money. So whether he can see the fact that influencers are going to get involved in that. Yeah, I think I played Flatface, I called him. Unfortunately, his name was Pieface. So I don't think I'm going to be an ambassador. I don't think I'm going to be an ambassador for the influencers. But look, we had a fantastic day. The Motor Super Series have nailed that. The tickets for Champions Week sell quickly. The tickets for the influencer day absolutely fly out. It was jam-packed in there, and that mixture of ex-dart players, current dart players, influencers, youth players, it really worked, and Mords have caught onto something.
Oh, it's absolutely genius when you think about it. You got some of the biggest creators in the country, and it's also going to that younger audience as well. And it's like, I never would have imagined if I was in school now, someone being like, do you see Angry Ginge playing darts at the weekend? And then he was doing live streams with Littler playing FIFA and whatnot. Glenn, the last question that I've got for you, and I say to Cole quite a lot, and he always speaks about not consistent enough, needing to get back up to another level. How can we convince Colin to get back on the hockey? I know he's shaking his head. No, Cole, come on.
I'm not laughing here because, and I think Colin knows my answer. I've seen Colin. I've worked a lot with him in Germany, and I've quietly watched him practice, and I've seen him smash 180s in for fun, and then he'll get on the stage and climb on a chair, and I'm like, why didn't you just sort of knuckle down in that game and play what I've just witnessed you? I've tried to ask him to go to seniors, but he was never interested in that. He's still got it. He's a far better player than I am right now, and I had to go to seniors, and Colin's in a much better position than I am right now. But look, if the fire's not in the belly, I mean, just literally before I come on, I threw a few darts there. The 180s were flying in. As soon as you say game on, and that's something that maybe Colin hasn't had for a while, but I would love to have seen how he reacted to that. But he's still got it. I love working with Colin, but he's his own man. If he decides he doesn't want to do it, but I sensed it was a missed opportunity. He didn't give the seniors a go.
Glenn, last one for me.
Very kind.
I can't take your darts nickname because you might not know my name's Harry Durham, and in school people called me Duzzer.
Really?
Yeah, I'm just going to say this right now. If I rise through the ranks and I go to Q school and I'm putting up a 105 average, I just want to let you know now that I am not going to take your nickname because there is only one Duzzer, Glenn, and that's you. Oh,
God bless you. I once offered Adrian Lewis $5,000 for his music. Thank God he didn't take it. If you want my name, you go for it, Harry. Duzzer.
Glenn, have a good one. From Duzzer Junior to Duzzer Senior. Take care, pal.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Thanks very much. See you all again.
Yeah, very kind words from Glenn there. Yeah, we've done a lot of shows together in Germany. Myself, Glenn, Phil Taylor, Daryl Fitton, Tony O'Shea, and it's just great fun weekends. But like Glenn said, he said it a couple of times. Where did you get that saying from? He goes, I don't know. He goes, but I think I robbed it from someone. I went, yeah, it was me. It was a case of I turn around and say to people now, something that I used to find so easy became so difficult. And I've never been a defeatist on a dartboard. I can still entertain on a dartboard. Like Glenn said, I can still bang in 180s. I can still take out 170 finishes. I can still do silly things, 3 bullseye finishes, double one for 6 and things like that. There's no pressure on me anymore. I don't think I can react to pressure anymore. Not the way that I used to be able to. And that's just me being brutally honest. Some people will just carry on and carry on and carry on. I knew that I wasn't good enough anymore, so I made that conscious decision to just step away and go, thanks very much. As in the words of the London gangster Dave Courtney, stop the ride, I want to get off. But I never really got off wholly because I still do things like this, which I love and enjoy doing. I work in media side of things at events. I do my thing for Winmore where I'm head of player development. And I still just love the game. But as for me being a top player again, whether it be seniors or just in general, no, them days are gone.
Lloydie, what I will say is, before I finish up, if the people from the Moda Super Series reach out to me at any point if or when my stock might rise doing a podcast with you, what I say is, if I get to have a partner...
It's already rising, mate. It's rising every week.
It is right. No, I'm being humble. I'd never back myself that much. But if Jason Tame were to come to me and say, listen, I want you and Colin Lloyd, or Harry, who do you want? And I'm going to say Colin Lloyd, and you have to do it with me. How about that?
What, in the pairs or something like that?
Yeah.
I'll do it with you, mate.
Yay,
no worries.
Get in.
I'll do it with you, no problems.
Thank you very much. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, next week, Dublin. The lineup is as followed. Luke Humphries versus Stephen Bunting. Gerwen Price versus Luke Littler. Imagine massive averages in that second game like we saw at the beginning of this year. Rob Cross versus Nathan Aspinall. Michael Van Gerwen versus Chris Dobie. Luke Humphries is the leader on top of the Premier League with 8 points at the moment. Luke Littler just 3 points behind him as well. Make sure you subscribe to the talkSPORT Darts YouTube channel to keep up to date with the latest Premier League news and everything across the world of darts. Our commentary will be streamed live on our YouTube channel every single week. Peace, God bless, happy Valentine's Day, baby.